All right, in this video, I'm going to be going over how I made $16,000 for a creator in just 7 days, who prior to our partnership made only $2,000 total selling info over a span of 5 months, okay? So here's proof to prove I'm not just some liar on the internet, okay? As you can see here, our Go High Level CRM, okay? There's a lot of numbers, right? But the important number is right here, okay? 8 opportunities closed and $16,000 profit in the creator's bank account, right? And not to mention, okay, this creator has an audience that's 77% plus from the third world, right? 77% plus from India, Pakistan, South Asia, and Africa, okay? So this just goes to prove to you, right? That you don't need a super qualified or rich audience to sell info successfully if you actually know what you're doing, right? So let's meet the creator, okay? Sarvesh, right? Sarvesh, his day job is a cybersecurity consultant, okay? Where he works at some big firm, okay, and pretty much has a 6-figure cybersecurity role, right? And this March, he actually started posting content about it, right? And he picked up traffic very, very fast. He grew his following faster than I've seen almost any creator out there, okay? And essentially, the problem was, though, is that when his info offers, right? When he was selling his info offers, nobody was biting, okay? And there was a bunch of problems with his offer, okay, and with what he was actually selling that we actually ended up fixing and making him a lot of money in, again, literally just 7 days. So this is Sarvesh, right? And this was his previous method of monetization, okay? This is how he was trying to make his money. Now, essentially what he was selling was an ebook, okay? And it was essentially outlining 50 different cybersecurity projects people could use to get hired, right? So Sarvesh, he's a creator in cybersecurity, okay? But his bread and butter, right? Why he's so popular is because he's known as the project guy on Instagram and TikTok, right? He's known as the guy that is the king of projects and getting distinct and detailed projects on your portfolio so that you can stand out in the job market, right? Without, getting a college degree, without doing any of these boot camps, right? So this is what he was trying to sell, okay? And there's a lot of problems with this, okay? So let's actually first dive into the funnel. So what he would do, okay, is he would have short form content, okay? And at the end of that short form content, he'd have a CTA, right? And that CTA would essentially go, comment the word cyber, and I'll give you all my free resources that you need to use to break into cybersecurity in 2024, right? So essentially when they comment cyber, okay, ManyChat would pretty much DM them, and it would essentially give them an invite to the free community that was designed to nurture leads, okay? And then whenever he wanted to make money from those leads, okay, he would just send the email blast and he would try to capitalize and make money, okay? Now, obviously, this didn't work, okay? Because like I said, he made only $2,000 selling info over a span of 5 months, right? With the size of his following is not very great, right? So this is why it didn't work, okay? First is because the offer only partially solved the customer gap. And I'll explain what that means more in a second, right? Second is that his offer didn't reach enough of his audience, okay? And the third is that customers weren't warm enough before making an ask. So I'm going to be diving deeper into all 3 of these problems and also giving actionable solutions that we took to actually go and solve those problems, right? So the first is his offer, okay? So let's dive into his previous offer. So essentially, his previous offer, okay, was $47 for the ebook that he had, okay? Which honestly was a fair price. But in business, you will almost always make more money selling a more expensive product, right? So the question that we were facing, right, was how could we raise the price of what he was selling? If we tried selling the ebook for $2,800, right, which is what we ended up selling his new offer for, nobody would buy it, okay? And that's because the offer doesn't solve the customer's entire gap. So let me explain to you what this actually means. So essentially what you're seeing right here is the gap of the customers in Sarvesh's audience, right? The gap of Sarvesh's avatar, okay? Where essentially their current situation is, okay, not having a cybersecurity role, okay? And their desired situation is having an entry-level cybersecurity position, okay? Now, essentially there's a lot of things that go into this gap, right? To actually fill this gap, right? To take someone who doesn't have a cybersecurity role and doesn't have any experience in the field to someone who gets an entry-level cybersecurity position, right? Of 70, 80, 90, even $100,000 a year. You need to fill that gap with certain things, right? So the first is hard skills and certifications, right? So you need the actual hard skills, the hard tech and coding skills, along with the certifications you need to actually break into cybersecurity, right? You also need a strong resume and a portfolio to stand out from the crowded job market, to stand out from all the other people applying, right? And you also need to know how to find employers, right? To actually find the employers get that first touch, and also get prepared for the interview when you do land it, right? So this is what solves the gap, right? These three things are how you take someone from their current situation in Sarvesh's audience to the desired situation in Sarvesh's audience, right? The problem was, okay, the ebook was only this. It was only portfolio. It was only solving part of the customer gap, okay? Which is why, right? If you can promise someone, okay, this is what I want you guys to understand. If you can promise someone that you'll take them from this current situation to this desired situation, right? Where they don't have a cybersecurity role and now they have a $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 cybersecurity entry-level position, right? You can charge, okay, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 for an offer like that, right? Let's just say $3,000, okay? If this offer that pretty much solves this gap, okay, is $3,000, but you're only solving part of the gap, then you're only going to be getting part of that money, right? You're only going to be getting a portion of that $3,000, which is why his ebook was only able to sell for $47, right? Because he's only solving part of the customer gap. So what we did for Sarvesh, okay, was pretty much make an offer that solved the entire gap, right? That could truly take someone from their current situation where they don't have a cybersecurity role, again, to their desired situation where they do have the cybersecurity role. So pretty much this offer, okay, you can look at the offer right now, right? But it including the job listing board, okay, which solves this part of the gap, right? It includes project tutorials, okay, which solves this part of the gap. It includes the ebook itself, right? Which again, it solves the portfolio problem, right? An interview prep sheet, which solves the third part of the gap, right? The done for you flashcards, so it solves the first part of the gap. Okay, project ideation, the second part. A LinkedIn optimization tutorial, right? So the third, okay? Resume optimization. So I think that's the second, right? And then a personalized career roadmap and the one-on-one attention that people need, right? So which supplements the entire gap, right? Which supplements and includes all three of these things, okay? That's why, right? It wasn't actually $20,000. We were just price gauging, okay? But that's exactly how, and that's exactly why we were able to get Sarvesh from selling a $47 product, okay, to selling a $2,800 product and doing it successfully, right? Because we solved the entirety of the customer gap, right? Now the second problem, okay, because you can have an awesome offer, right, that solves the entirety of your customer gap, but if people don't actually know about your offer, right, and you're not reaching and you're not distributing this offer and reaching your entire audience with it, then no one's going to buy it because they're not aware of what you're selling, right? Which is where our second problem was, right? Because it doesn't matter if you have an awesome Grand Slam offer if no one knows it exists, okay? So pretty much how Sarvesh would make money with this ebook, right, is, like I said, okay, through email blasts, right? So he'd nurture leads. He'd have some free resources inside of his free school community, okay? And then whenever he wanted to make money, okay, he would just put out an email blast, right? And as you can see, okay, 25% open rate, 3% click rate. 40% open rate, 3% click rate. 35% open rate, 1% click rate, right? 35% open rate, 1% click rate, okay? You see the problem there? Only 40% of his loyal audience knew about his offer, right? So the people that actually are engaged enough to actually even read and open the email, right? That even checked their email in the first place, right? Only 40% of his loyal audience even knew about this offer, okay? And only about 1% of those people actually knew the details of it, because you can't explain an entire offer in a short one-page email, right? Sarvesh's offer wasn't being reached to enough people. And how we solved this, right, was through what I like to call a launch campaign, okay? And we actually decided to use this new offer that we made for Sarvesh to our advantage. And since nobody knew about the offer yet, it allowed us to start from zero with no leads burned and no corner left unturned, right? So this method not only solved reach and allowed 100% of his follower base to hear about this new offer, but it also warmed prospects up, making sales extremely easy. So solving problems number 2, right, and number 3. And I'll show you exactly how we did this for him, okay? So here's a high-level overview, okay? So essentially, first what we did is we scheduled a launch start and end date, okay? Then we did market research to find common objections and motivations for his avatar, okay? Then we created a freebie lead magnet, right? Just to nurture leads and get people into his DMs. Then, okay, from the people in his DMs, we built a buyer's list, and we did this through email and Telegram, okay? And using the email and Telegram, we use those as channels to promote his offer, okay? And provide value to the buyer's list again, so they know, like, and trust him even more. And then, okay, when we felt like, or rather when the launch start date actually occurred and we provided enough value for an extended period of time, We dropped a launch VSL, pretty much detailing the specifics of his offer, okay? And also an expert funnel to help pretty much get them to take the actions that we wanted to get them to take, right? And then our closing process, hopping on a sales call, actually closing and knowing the proper sales tactics and collecting money on the call, right? That's a high level overview. So let's get deeper into it, okay? The first was scheduling a launch start and end date. So we onboarded and created Cybersecurity's MVP offer on July 3rd, okay? So we decided to leave around 3 weeks until the launch date, which is July 24th. So if you're a creator watching this, okay, you can typically leave around 3 to 4 weeks, depending on your expertise, depending on how hard you're willing to work, okay? From when you actually map out your MVP offer to when you're actually going and launching it, okay? So up until the 24th, Sarvesh's sole goal would be to provide an immense amount of value to his audience and get people onto his buyers list, okay, to whisper, tease, and shout, or pretty much just promote his offer, okay? And this new offer he was launching was only going to be open to the public for 7 days, okay? So from July 24th, July 30th, no earlier and no later. So if someone came to Sarvesh and on July 20th, they said, hey man, can I get into Cyber Premium? Sarvesh would tell them no, right? They can't. No earlier, no later. And what this allowed us to do, okay, was build up so much hype for the offer. And during the launch period, people are almost pressured, okay, into purchasing due to the urgency of the purchase, right? Call that scammy, call that salesy, whatever you want to call it, okay? It works, okay? A pro tip, and which is what we decided not to do, right? But you can also limit the amount of spots, right? So like maybe 10 or 15 to even add scarcity in there along with the urgency, okay? So that's step number 1. Step number 2, okay, was market research. So let's answer the question now. What do I say during the promotion? How do I actually provide value to my audience, right? Well, the awesome part about this is you don't need to figure it out on your own, okay? Because the promotion of your offer should appeal to your audience's innate desires. And the value you provide should tackle their objections or their pain points, right? But how do you figure out their pain points and desires? Well, you just ask them, okay? And this is something that people overlook all the time. So how do you actually go about asking them, right? That's the name of the game here. So, okay, essentially how you do it, now I pulled that up for a little bit, okay? But essentially this is all you need to do, right? So you need to ask them on your story, okay? Are you doing X, right? So if you're a dropshipping creator, right? Are you trying to make money with dropshipping, okay? For Sarvesh, okay, one of the biggest things in cybersecurity is the fact that you need to pass this CompTIA Security Plus exam, right? This is something that's almost required to get hired nowadays, okay? So when we asked this question, okay, expectedly, around 70% of his audience said, yes, I am, right? So, okay, what he did was next story, he said, well, if you said yes, I've just decided to drop the comprehensive study guide I made and use to pass the CompTIA Security Plus exam on my first try, okay? DM me the word guide and I'll send it completely for free, okay? From that point, when they DM him, okay, we'd have ManyChat essentially take over from there and say something like this. Hey there, you can receive access to the guide by filling out this short questionnaire. You'll receive the guide automatically once the form is submitted, okay? Now this short questionnaire we made through Typeform, okay? And here's a basic overview of kind of what we ask in this Typeform, right? So first, okay, is a declaration of honesty, right? Making sure that people are actually going to tell the truth, okay? And yeah, so the rest of this is actually validated and actually matters, right? Number 2, okay, is asking where they are in their where they currently are in their cybersecurity journey, okay? So essentially when you do this, right, you want to segment your audience, okay, into 3 or 4 different categories, right? And this is because your audience likely consists of 3 or 4 different avatars, right? But you only want to target one of those specific avatars. So for Sarvesh, okay, he had people in his audience, okay, that were in primary school who were looking to study cybersecurity in college or university, right? He had people that were in college who were looking to land their first tech role in cybersecurity, okay? And he also had other career professionals, right, that were also looking to break into cybersecurity, right? Whether they were in another tech role or an unrelated profession. So for Sarvesh's offer, okay, we were looking to target people, okay, in A and B, right? People that are pretty much professionals already, so they have a little bit of money, but they're looking to break into cybersecurity because we're selling a high ticket offer, obviously, okay? Then it's figuring out your audience's buying power, right? So for Sarvesh, okay, this was really, really bad, right? Like we got a lot of A, B, and C, okay? But because of the size of his audience, right, we still got a decent amount of all this. The vast majority was A, B, and C just because his audience came from the third world. But it's super important, right, to understand your audience's buying power. If we had tried selling a $5,000 offer, okay, we likely wouldn't have gotten any bites. We likely wouldn't have gotten any sales. Then, okay, it's their biggest question, right? Their biggest question about your niche. Now, essentially, all this big question is, okay, is this their biggest objection? It's what they're gonna be objecting with, right? When you actually go to pitch them your offer, right? So, for example, right, Sarvesh's the thing that we saw most common, right, for this question right here was, can I break into cybersecurity without previous tech experience, right? That was huge. Okay, people wanted to know if they could break into cybersecurity without previous tech experience. So, okay, I'll tell you why this is important in a second, but essentially, right, if you were to start selling your offer right away, okay, without doing any of the promotion stuff, you would likely miss out on a lot of money because you haven't handled this objection, or you haven't handled and answered this big question before you actually go to sell, right? That's the purpose of asking number 4, and I'll go more in detail on that in a second, right? Number 4, okay, is getting the motivations that drive them to landing their first cybersecurity role, right? The motivations that drive them to doing whatever you're selling, right? So for this, okay, people, obviously, right, a big thing was financial freedom, right? Another was location freedom. Cybersecurity is actually a thing that you can work remotely on, right? People love the concept of traveling the world, right? And having that location freedom where they can work from wherever they want, right? Those were big motivators for Sarvesh's audience, okay? And also, right, some specific things that they'd like to see, right? Because you can get a pretty good idea from 4 or 5, right? But actually, like, if they tell you, like, hey, I'm actually looking for this, or if you could include this, this would be awesome, right? That gives you a really specific idea of some things that you could add to your offer and make really awesome, right? So, boom, okay? Sweet. You know how to do market research, and I'll explain a little bit, okay, later on why this is super important, okay? Number 3 is creating a freebie lead magnet, okay? So what I've seen, right, is that too many creators are scared to give away free stuff to their audience. When in reality, the more value you provide, the more people will know, like, and trust you. And that's how you build a loyal audience of interested customers, okay? It's the law of reciprocity. When you give someone something, okay, they're inclined to give you something back. So when you give your audience free value over and over and over again, they feel obligated to repay you. How? Through money, right? Now, for the purpose of this launch, not only is creating this freebie lead magnet to warm up our audience and increase our KLT factor, right, which is essentially know, like, and trustness, but it's also to build our buyers list, right? And we do this by funneling people into our DMs. And we do that, okay, by asking them to comment our CTA so we can DM them the free value they were looking for, right? So here's an example for Sarvesh, right? This is what we did for him. So essentially, he just made like a small ebook, right? A really small ebook, and this is just reconstructed, right, from stuff that he already had made. This is stuff that he already had made, okay? Now, essentially, right, all this lead magnet is, okay, is a high-level overview of your niche, right? Or it solves a high-level problem of something that people in your audience face, which is what this project faced, right? So people have a lot of ideas for projects, but they don't know actually how to build them, right? So this ebook right here, okay, this is a step-by-step guide on how to do 3 different projects, right? So project 1, literally step-by-step, right? Prerequisites, the step-by-step, step number 1, step number 2, step number 3, right? He did it for 3 different projects. So it's something that almost anyone in his audience can find valuable, right? Whether you have a job already, whether you're in college, whether you're even in high school, right? It's something that's high level, and it's something that everyone in his audience can find valuable. And it's also something that needs to be something that you're comfortable actually promoting in your content, right? It can't be this super like niche thing that you're not even comfortable like promoting in your content and telling people to comment and DM you for, right? So spend time and actually make this valuable because it's going to pay dividends in the long run, right? Okay, sweet. Number 4 is building a buyer's list, okay? And all a buyer's list is, okay, it's a curated database of people or entities who may be interested in acquiring a product or service, right? That's like the dictionary definition of what a buyer's list is, okay? Now, we want to create a buyer's list for ourselves, right? As content creators, we want to create a buyer's list so we don't have to promote to people who don't want or even care about our offer. And this is because promoting the people who don't want to be promoted to is exactly how you burn all of your market goodwill and get labeled as a guru or a sellout, right? Your market goodwill as a content creator is one of the most important things you'll ever have, right? And by promoting the people who don't want to be promoted to, you're going to burn it all, right? And another reason we don't want to do this is because the people who don't want to buy our stuff may want to in the future, right? But if we try selling to them now, we're going to lower our KLT factor by a lot, okay? Now I know what you're thinking, right? How do we actually build that buyers list? Well, let me show you. So essentially what you're seeing here, okay, is the ManyChat funnel that we used to get people from Sarvesh's DMs, okay, onto the buyers list, right? So it starts with them commenting, right? And our keyword was just guide, right? So he'd end in his content, comment the word guide, and I'll give you my new ebook on 3 projects, on my 3 copy and paste project tutorials, right? Then, right, it give them a message like this, right? So, hey, thanks for your comment. Here's the link to access the 3 step-by-step cybersecurity project tutorials. Let me know if you can access it, right? And honestly, I think there's a better way to do this, right? This didn't work very well. We only got a 40% click rate. But essentially, we'd have a button there too, where they could click I can access, right? Now, right, after 15 minutes of them clicking it, okay, to make it look legitimate, we don't want to hit them back right away, right? But we hit them with something like this. Awesome. Hope you found the guide valuable. In case you're interested, would you like to join the waitlist to get early access to 2 of my best videos from my new $5,000 community designed to help people break into cybersecurity that's dropping on July 24th? Okay. Now I know it's a lot, right? Let's break it down, okay? So first, okay, it's asking if they're interested, right? So being in case you're interested, right? Not pressuring them anyway, okay? Then pretty much making your offer, right? Would you like to join the waitlist? That's our offer, right? Would you like to join the waitlist, okay? And then an incentive, right? Some sort of incentive to get early access to 2 of my best videos from my new $5,000 community, right? So next thing is the incentive, right? To get early access to 2 of my best videos, right? Some sort of incentive for them actually joining the waitlist, some sort of reward, right? So for Sarvesh, all we did, okay, was have him take 2 videos that he already had recorded for his course and just essentially give them out for free, right? Give them as kind of a sneak peek or a nugget, right? And show people how valuable it was, how valuable the program is, right? And then is including from my new $5,000 community, right? Essentially why we include that, right? Is because when you say an expensive price like this, now obviously we didn't sell our thing for $5,000, right? But we said we were going to. Now what's saying that you're going to sell your product for more expensive than you're actually going to does is it allows you to price anchor on launch, right? And I'll show you kind of how we did that in our VSL later. But when you say something and people are expecting to join a waitlist for something that's going to be this expensive, and when you actually launch it, it's a lot cheaper, they're going to be like, oh my God, I have to get this. It's a no-brainer I get it now, right? And then what it actually helps it do, right? Designed to help people break into cybersecurity, right? The last part, and like reminding them of the launch date, right? Reminding them of that, of the date it launches, right? That's dropping on July 24th. I don't know if I mentioned, but you want to be pretty much hammering that date in your audience's mind, right? You want your audience to be thinking of that date that you're actually launching it as their birthday, Christmas, Easter, Mother's Day, New Year's, right? Father's Day, all in one, right? You want them to think of it as like a national holiday. Okay, sweet. So pretty much when they'd say yes, right? We'd hit them with, okay, sweet. Click this link below to apply, right? And essentially this is on a ClickFunnels page, but essentially it's embedded with a type form that asks for their information, okay? So that if they're qualified, we can hit them up on the launch manually and actually get them to book a call and buy our product, right? Now, if they haven't responded, right, we have some follow-ups because money's made in the follow-ups, guys, right? So something like, would you be interested or no, right? Then if they don't respond to that, okay, question marks. Usually it doesn't even get to this point. Usually they'll respond at this point, right? And again, same thing, get them to apply below. Sweet. Okay, so let's actually go through the buyer's list application as well. I forgot to show you this. Okay, here's the landing page. So essentially we put on a landing page just because it makes it look nicer, right? It makes it look more professional. But essentially all your headline should be is pretty much what you said, right? In the ManyChat conversation, which is join the waitlist, get early access to 2 of my best video from a brand new 5K program, right? Dropping on July 24th, okay? So the reason I linked the type form here as well is because the type form is now closed. People can't apply or join the waitlist anymore. But here's kind of what that looks like, right? So again, I always like starting with a declaration of honesty, right? Making sure people are telling the truth and also including, right, what they're going to get, right? So if they answer honestly, they get 2 of the best modules for free as a sneak peek, right? Okay, again, segmenting your audience, right? Super, super important that you do this because, again, C is not Sarvesh's target audience, right? A and B are. Asking where they're from, okay? You don't need to ask this question. The reason we do is just because of Sarvesh's audience, we knew it was majority from B, right? We knew who had a big audience in India, Pakistan, and South Asia, which is why we wanted to ask this question also, just to get a better idea. Again, asking monthly income range to understand your audience's buying power and understand how much money your prospect actually has to invest in your program, right? So what we actually did, right, is we actually manually hit up everyone that was E, F, or G, or H, right? We manually hit them up and get them booked on. Number 5, okay, is asking them, okay, what their biggest question is about cybersecurity. Again, right? Now this is a little different, okay, because we already got a lot of the information from the market research, right, about their biggest questions so we can handle the objection. What this waitlist thing does, okay, it gives us another field of data for sure, but it allows us to refer back on the sales call, right? It allows us to refer back when we're actually getting closer to the sales process and actually like pre-handle that objection almost, right? So when we're on a sales call and a prospect is kind of unsure, right, we'll be able to handle that objection before they can even say it. And they'll be like, oh my God, this guy knows my problems. Right? That's kind of why we include number 5 here. But again, a lot of this is just repeated information from the market research. It's just something that I thought it doesn't hurt to ask more information, right? So again, describe the motivations, some things you'd like to see, just getting another field of data, right? But also getting their name, their phone number, and a place to actually get those videos, right? So again, fulfilling on the reward, but also getting their information so that we can manually hit them up, right? Via email, via SMS, via Instagram DMs, however you want to do it, right? When it's actually time to launch, if they're a qualified prospect, right? Now, okay, again, fulfilling on the reward, super important, which is why we had an ending where if they filled it out, they would get access to join the waitlist, right? Which you can, it's not gonna let me click on it right now, but essentially it's access to a Telegram, and right here, when they give their actual name and email, it actually Zapier, right? You can set it up on Zapier, but Zapier will actually take it there from there, and they'll get them on the email list as well. Okay, sweet, right? That's how you build the buyers list, okay? Now, how do you actually promote on the buyers list? How do you actually provide value to your buyers list? How do you actually make that buyers list worth something, right? So the key to amazing email list specifically, okay, is the relationship you're building with the subscribers. When you're writing emails, you want to act as if you're writing to a single person on the other side. And the goal is to build a relationship by telling stories and providing value. And you'll gain more trust as you tell more stories and provide value, which will give you immense buying power when you open your launch. Okay, but I know what you're thinking, right? What value do I actually provide, right? So this is where market research comes in. Okay, so for email, right? For email specifically, you want to take a look at your market research and figure out the 3 biggest questions are, again, objections people in your audience have about your niche, right? To repeat, okay, these big questions you have are essentially going to be objections that come up on sales calls, right? So I guarantee if we didn't pre-handle these objections like I'm about to talk about right now, okay, on sales calls, people would say, oh, but I don't want to buy this because I don't have a college degree. It's not even going to work for me, right? You don't want people thinking that your offer isn't going to work for them, which is why this is super, super important, okay? But like I was saying, right, handle those objections on your value days. And I'll tell you a little bit what that means, okay? But you do this, right, by providing case studies and showing how they can overcome those limiting beliefs. So for example, okay, a common question people had for Sarvesh was, do I need previous tech experience to land a cybersecurity role, right? So I had Sarvesh write emails like this. So essentially, right, immediately handling the objection, right? Can you break into cybersecurity without any tech background, right? And to preface, this isn't the best email copy, right? Sarvesh wrote this, not the best copywriter, no offense, but yeah, essentially let's look at it, right? So are you worried that because you have no tech background, it's impossible to break into cybersecurity, right? So starting with the question, right? Amazing. You might feel like you're at a major disadvantage, but I want to break this myth by sharing with you the story of how Sarah broke into cybersecurity from a nursing career, right? Sarah was stuck working a nursing job, didn't really enjoy it, long hours, no flexibility, low career salary progression, okay? She had an interest in cybersecurity, but felt there's no hope as she had no previous tech experience in the past. Essentially, she was starting from scratch. I had been mentoring her for the past 6 months, and in April, she landed a junior security analyst role. I know these 6 months have been really tough for her balancing work and studying. Hard work paid off. Now she has this awesome thing. This is what her pay went to. She's a lot happier, more potential to grow in her career. And I want to help people like this who have the drive and motivation just like Sarah. Stay tuned for July 24th because the program I'll be releasing will help you with just that. Okay. You see what he does here? What he does, okay, is he handles an objection, a really, really common objection that he's going to get, right? A big question that people had about his program, okay? And what he's doing, okay, is he's using a story of someone he's helped before, right? And if you don't have someone that you've helped before, right, you can literally, it can be talking about yourself, or it can be talking about some anecdote you saw from someone else, right? But a story of someone Sarvesh helped who had this same question, right? Who had this same problem where they were trying to break into cybersecurity without a tech background, right? Now, ideally, okay, Sarvesh would have dived more deep into the how, right? Like how Sarah actually broke in, right? Like maybe like actionable steps that Sarah took, right, to break into cybersecurity without a tech background, okay? Ideally, he'd make the email more value driven, right? But still pretty good, right? Still showing people and still handling that objection that, again, right, he found from the market research, okay? Awesome, right? Now I'll actually show you a framework, right? A basic email framework of how you can go about writing emails throughout your launch, okay? So pretty much 4 emails a week, okay? You can do more, you can do less. And again, this is just the framework, right? So if you find that something works better for you, feel free to do so, right? But essentially what I had Sarvesh do, because value, right? So value one day, okay? Story plus value reward, value, story plus value reward, right? 4 times a week. Now, essentially all the value is, okay, is a straight value email, right? So, and like a super in the weeds, like super nuanced, complex email, okay? Still in friendly writing, right? Still easy to read, but just straight value, right? And then another day, the alternate day, okay, you're gonna have story plus a value reward, right? So similar to how this was, right? So a story, right? Talking about a specific anecdote in either one of your clients' lives or your life, okay? And also sprinkling in some value in there. Now, Sarvesh didn't really do any value here, but if you do a value, then it's awesome, okay? And I also say reward because, right? Remember when you promised them stuff to actually get on the email list, right? Remember when you made that promise of giving them those 2, 3, 5, 7 free modules for joining the waitlist? Yeah. Essentially, what you want to do is you want to pretty much write your email in a way where you're telling a story, and at the end, okay, you're providing them some sort of value. Now, this story, okay, it can be about why you made that video module in the first place, right? Why that video module would have helped you 2 years ago, 3 years ago, or what motivated you even making that video module, right? Stories, okay, and providing value with those stories is how we get people to KLT, know, like, and trust us, right? And the weekend launch, I'd say just value every day, right? You want to give them enough time to actually digest the rewards. So I'd say weekend launch, just value every day, and you can include stories in there also. Okay, sweet, right? That's email. Now Telegram, okay, is essentially used as a spammy, less formal version of email, right? And you can use this to send voice memos, quick progress updates, and just build a relationship with your audience, right? So just a more simple, more easy, more fluid way of promotion and building that relationship, right? Sweet. That's how you actually promote your offer and provide value to your buyers list, right? Pretty simple, okay? Number 6, okay, is creating your launch VSL and your expert funnel, right? 2 parts. The first is a VSL. Now, a lot of people when they're starting off selling info, don't understand what a VSL is, okay? So I'll explain it and I'll keep it very simple, okay? YouTube videos are sales letters. Webinars are sales letters. Pinned TikTok videos are mini sales letters. And even commercials back in the day are sales letters, okay? Because any video that is trying to get you to take some sort of action is a video sales letter, is a VSL, okay? And the main function of a sales letter is essentially the same as a sales call. Because on a sales call, you're creating a gap between your customer's current and desired situation, where the gap is all of their built up pain. And then you're bridging the gap with their offer, right? And sales letters are doing the same exact thing. But instead of having a back and forth conversation, you're talking at them. And humans will buy something if you clearly satisfy their pain and appeal to their desires, right? Humans will buy something if you clearly satisfy their pain and appeal to their desires, and additionally, bridge their pain and their desires really well and pretty much market your offer as the solution between those two gaps, right? So for the purpose of this launch, okay, we made Cybersecurity a Canva presentation, okay? And I'll show you this presentation in a second. But this Canva presentation, right, it appealed to his audience's pain points and satisfied their desires, okay? And we knew these from our market research, okay? It also positioned Cyber Premium, right, or his offer, as the bridge between their current and desired situation, okay? And it also asked them to take an action at the end, which is book a call. Let's actually go through it briefly. Now, this is a long VSL, right? I don't want to go through every single step, but essentially you can see, right? It's got his branding everywhere. It's got the Cyber Premium branding, okay? Right here, you're seeing it's building up the pain, okay? It's building up the pain. It's showing, rather painting their desired situation, okay? Now, here is where we're building up the pain, right? We're showing them that Sarvesh was just once like them. He was dealing with the same problems that his audience is facing, right? And it's also right here, right? It's the epiphany bridge. It's showing that, hey, okay, you can make it out, right? Where was it? It's somewhere here, right? There was a picture. There's pictures of him essentially on vacation right here, right? Talking about the reality, right? Talking about the reality that now he can live, okay? Talking about that dream desired situation, right? The location freedom that people want, the time and financial freedom that they want, okay? And at the end, right, it's actually going over the offer now, right? So going over the offer, going about the distinct things you can see right here. We go through the price pitch. But again, and then at the end, right, ending with, like I said, the CTA, right? Apply below this video to claim your special discount, okay? Sick, right? If you were to just drop this VSL though, this wouldn't make any sense, right? Because if you send them like a YouTube video, like they're not gonna have anywhere to click for the special discount, right? It doesn't make any sense. You can't just drop this to your audience and expect them to be impressed, okay? You need to put together a funnel that, one, holds their attention, okay? But also gets them to take the actions that you want them to take. So we'll actually go through our funnel in just a second. Sick. So what you're seeing right here is the Cyber Premium funnel, okay? So with the headline, right? Starting with the headline, okay? So watch the video below to claim your beta launch spot before they're all gone, okay? And then pretty much reminding them that this page is going to be deleted on July 30th, right? Introducing our launch end date. So people have already been introduced to the start date. Now during the launch, it's time to introduce them to the end date, okay? Now essentially, right, the VSL, the pretty much a recording of the Canva presentation we made Sarvesh, okay? And again, when they get to this end part, right, where it says apply below this video to claim your special discount, they'll be able to actually click a button, okay, to get them to that next step. Now essentially, okay, this is another landing page, okay? But essentially, it's an application page, right? And you can read this headline right here. This application is only for people who are interested in breaking into cybersecurity in the next 12 weeks and have the funds to invest in mentorship, right? Super important to include this part, right? The fact that they actually have funds to invest in themselves, okay? So let me actually show you the application, kind of what that looks like. Now this application, right? It's very similar to kind of the other applications we've had, but it just gets a little more deep into things, right? So again, I always like starting with a declaration of honesty, okay? Then asking for their name, their phone number, okay? And it's asking time, right? It's figuring out their time constraints. So a lot of people, right? They have the money for it, right? They're down to do it, but they can't get started as soon as possible. We don't want those people, okay? Asking their current monthly income range, right? For obvious reasons, to know if they can actually afford our service or not, okay? Then, okay, they might have the money, okay? They might be making the money rather, but some people are not willing to invest and don't even have the capability of making that investment, right? Which is why I like asking a more direct question, right? So you honestly don't need this, right? Sometimes you can just get rid of this question right here and just go straight to this, okay? I like asking both because some people will just lie in a yes or no question. So it's important to get two kind of fields of information here, okay? But are you currently willing and able to make a $500 to $3,000 investment, okay? Now our product, right, was $2,800. But as you saw in the beginning here, okay, there was also some people that bought in for prices that were kind of weird also, right? Like $597 or $3,000. Now the reason we do that, okay, is because of payment plans and downsells. So for our offer, right, if people weren't able to afford that $2,800 investment, okay, we'd have a downsell, right, for $597, where essentially they got everything in the community except for the personalized roadmap and the one-on-one mentorship, right? And we only pitched that if people couldn't afford the $2,800, okay? It says 3K for some people because some people were on split pays, right? For 1,500 and 1,500 upfront and 1,500 in the next month, right? So 3K revenue. Okay, that's why we ask a question like this, because payment plans are also to be accounted for. Okay, sick. Then it's asking, okay, it's pretty much asking them a question like this, right? Getting them to sell themselves, right? Saying that you can only take on a limited number of clients at a time, and pretty much having them sell themselves on why they should choose to mentor you. Now, when you ask a question like this, people go really deep into it, right? They start being like, I would love for you to accept me. Like, please accept me. Please let me pay you money to do this thing for me, right? It's pretty much them convincing you why you should accept their money. And when you have that frame over your audience, it becomes super, super easy on the sales calls, right? And then, okay, asking where they're from, right? Not required at all, right? Now, essentially, okay, how we designed this, and we did this way because Sarvesh's audience is super broke, right? And a lot of them are super unqualified. We actually not program, but kind of, I guess, design the logic of this, right? Where if they answered in a way that we didn't like, that it would take them to a certain it would take them to a different ending. So essentially, right? If someone here answered no, not right now, it would take them directly to the end. And I'll show you what the end looks like. Typeform's being weird. Right here. It would take them to this ending, essentially, where it'd say, thank you so much for your application. Our team will contact you shortly if we decide you're a good fit for our program, right? So essentially, it ends the application right there. If they say no to this question, it takes them here, okay? Now, the reason we ask their name and their phone number and email before any of these questions is because we want them to actually think that we will hit them back if we think they're a good fit, right? But, okay, in our eyes, it's pretty obvious that they're not a good fit because they said no, okay? Same thing here. If they say A, B, or C, okay, it takes them to here, right? But if they answer D, E, F, G, or H, it lets them move forward with the application, right? Again, they say no here, ends the application. They say yes, continues, okay? And then boom and boom, and then essentially they're at the end right here, okay? Now what happens, okay, is when they pretty much fill out this type form, okay, you should redirect them to the next part of your funnel, right? So for us, okay, it was a calendar booking page, right? So if they were able to get through this application successfully and get to this ending, which essentially means they're a somewhat qualified prospect, okay, then it would take them to this page where they can book in a call. Now for us, right, they can't book in a call anymore because the launch is closed. But essentially, after they book in the calendar here, I'll show you where it takes them afterwards as well. Sick. So once they booked in, it would pretty much take them to this page right here, okay? All this page is a thank you page, right? And what it does is it makes sure that they actually watch the VSL, right? It is super, super hard to sell someone who's uninformed, right? If they don't actually know fully about the offer, if you haven't been able to nurture them, right, through the content of the video sales letter, then it's very unlikely that they're going to buy. Now, some people, right, on this thank you page, they like to maybe include directions for how to prepare for the call. Like, thank you so much for booking in. Make sure you're coming to the call prepared with any questions you have. Make sure you're on your computer in a quiet place, right? You can do it like that. I honestly just like repeating the VSL, right? Making them actually watch that VSL before the call, because a lot of people, they'll just go halfway and then they'll still click the CTA at the end without even actually getting to the end, right? So super important that your prospects are actually qualified, informed, and actually know what you're selling, right? So what this funnel does, okay, like I said, is it holds their attention and it gets them to take the actions we want them to take, right? It keeps us in control and it makes it so unqualified, right? And uninterested prospects aren't even inside of our calendar. They aren't even in our sales process. Okay, sick. Final step of this entire thing, okay, is the closing process and actually collecting the money, okay? And sales, guys, is super easy when your marketing has done all the work beforehand, okay? Our application process had a lot of applicants, but it only had a handful of qualified prospects, okay? And I think that's majority because of Sarvesh's super, super broke audience, right? With that being said, though, okay, you only want to hop on a call with the qualified ones, right? So our type form actually removed unqualified prospects from the funnel, right? Which is one thing you can do, right? But pretty much you only want to hop on a call with the qualified prospects, so you're not wasting your time trying to sell the leads who don't need or can't even afford your service, okay? One thing I also did was I hired a closer for 10% commission, right? Who I trained on the offer, who I pretty much placed into the business, right? And I pretty much for him, I shipped off all the less qualified, but still acceptable prospects too, right? So the prospects that made it to the end of the funnel, but still weren't extremely qualified, still weren't super likely buyers, I pretty much shipped off to him, right? So what this did was it freed up a lot of time for me to hop on the sales calls with the super qualified prospects, super warm prospects, but not leave any stones unturned in terms of the unlikely but possible sales, right? Sick. That essentially, okay, is how we went about making $16,000 for a creator, right? $16,000 in Starvesh's bank account, who hadn't made more than $2,000 online despite trying for over 5 months, okay? Not to mention, right, to remind you guys, his audience is majority from the third world too. So if you think that, oh, my audience would never be receptive to an offer or they can't afford my offer, think again, okay? If you actually know what you're doing, right? Which after this video you should, right? If you actually know the proper marketing and sales tactics, you can sell anything, right? As long as your offer is good, not anything. You can sell a really, really quality offer. Now, if you're an educational content creator who's looking to get a similar result for yourself and you want me to give you a free blueprint on how you can go about building, launching, and scaling. So we talked about building and launching in this video, right? But you also need to know how to scale your business once it's actually launched and once you've made all that money up front, right? But if you want to know how you can go about building, launching, and scaling your own high-ticket coaching and consulting offer, then shoot me a DM on Instagram @ScaleWithShyon, and I'll see how I can help. I'll see you guys in the next one.